Hi, I'm Marie Elizabeth,
And I'm Patrick Price.
and we just got back from being away on vacation. So we wanted to do this live about taking time away with your partner.
That's right.
And wow, the light's kind of weird and reflecty. Sorry. So if you are watching live, if you're tuning in live, go ahead and drop a hashtag live. Let us know who's here. We love knowing who's with us. And you can also drop a hashtag replay if you're watching the replay. And we love to know what kind of nuggets you're getting out of what we're saying. So at any moment in this live, feel free to drop in the comments what's resonating for you, any ahas you're having, any nuggets that you want to acknowledge were said particularly well, anything like that. If you'd like access to the show notes, go ahead and drop the word notes in the comments and we'll make sure you get access to that. And lastly, drop the word partnered or single in the comments and I'll get you the link to my Relationship Alchemy assessment. So this assessment helps you get a sense of what's working great in your relationship and what needs work. And that way you can be more effective with where you put your attention and your efforts. Sometimes when things feel off, it can be hard to tell what's off and you just start trying a bunch of shit and it doesn't have to be that complicated. You can actually use this 4 or 5 minute assessment to get clear on what's actually working fine and where you need to put your attention and then go from there. So today we are talking about relationship reboot, taking time away for couples. And we all know that our relationships are important, but sometimes they need a tune-up because we can get super stuck in the day-to-day and kind of forget to interact with each other as partners, as people, as flesh and blood beings separate from being a cog in the wheel of the life that you're creating together.
That's right.
Yeah. So before things get too far down that road, it's good to think about taking some time away together to strengthen the relationship, not because something's wrong or bad that needs to be fixed, but because taking space with each other and for the union that the two of you are creating together is worth doing. Just because.
I agree.
So, and this was big for us because we haven't really had a proper vacation in a long time that wasn't related to creating underwater photography or wasn't related to photography for me or wasn't related to family something or friends, a wedding or some kind of friends event. And it had been, I don't know, it's been years since we've just had a vacation that
just for us.
Now we did see a lot of friends and family on this trip, and that was a choice that we made. And we made sure to take time just for us. So again, if you're tuning in, let us know, drop a hashtag live, let us know you're here. We love to know who's here with us. We can see the little eyeball, but we can't see who's here. And we'd love to know who you are and where you're tuning in from. So just let us know that you're here live. And if you're watching the replay, let us know that too, because we love seeing who joins us. So the first piece around taking time away. Hey, it's so good. I'm so glad you're here. So Lisa says hi. That's awesome. It's me. So the first piece is to be mindful about how you choose what you do. So would you say a word about that, about mindfulness?
Yeah. So as you decide what you do, I like certain things, you like certain things, and there's some things that overlap, but I think you have to be mindful of, how much nourishment each person in the partnership is getting from the activities, and also, how do they get nourished? Like me, I get nourished. I like to take naps. I like spaciousness. I like things that move slowly.
And golf.
And golf, which encompasses a lot of those things. While you, on the other hand, you are nourished by things that are like full of energy and moving fast and lots of activity and lots of things that can be exhausting for me if I do them for a long time.
Yeah, I beg to differ with kind of how you put that. That I get that that's your perception, and I feel like for me, what's interesting is I really love being surrounded by beauty and taking in beauty, and I love putting myself into situations where I get to see beauty.
Mm-hmm.
So that might mean, even though I'm not a big museum person in general, that might sometimes mean going to a museum if there's something particularly interesting, or that might mean going and seeing a certain part of a town because I want to see the architecture, or I want to walk around, or I want to try this restaurant, so it might express as activity, but it's not just activity because I need to keep moving.
That's fair. That's totally fair.
It's activity because I'm curious and I want to learn something about the place, and I want to feel the place, and I want to experience the place.
And I love activity too. I just usually like less.
This is accurate. So for example, in Sweden, so here's an example of being mindful about how you choose what you do. As we put together this very packed, it was a short trip and it was somewhat spontaneous. So it wasn't planned out super in advance. So there was a lot of, oh, right on. That's so great. I'm glad to hear it resonates. We have a comment here that says this is so spot on for my partner and I. Yeah, and it's so easy to get into conflict, right? Because it's like, well, I want to go do this. Well, I want to lie down. So what we did, for example, was we very intentionally, the Saturday that we were in town, he went and played golf with a friend, a childhood friend of mine, and several other people. And I went and had lunch with a childhood friend of my mother's, who's actually the mother of the person he played golf with, and one of the other brothers who's like my brother. And then we went to the photography museum where my friend's wife also is the brand manager. Anyway, and because I really wanted to see this museum, and his mother hadn't been there either. And so I got to do the sort of like a family duty in a certain way, like check in with my mother's friend and go to a museum and see something beautiful. It's really an incredible museum. Like the whole restaurant concept is insane. It's a zero waste restaurant. I mean, it's just really fascinating, the design of the place. So I got off on that, and Patrick got to play golf all day, which is not to say you wouldn't have enjoyed that activity.
Totally, yeah.
But it is to say it was important to make sure we each got to do something nourishing for us. And we didn't necessarily have to do those nourishing things together 24/7. Other days we did do the nourishing things together. Sometimes we napped, sometimes we went and did stuff. But that was a day that we chose to individually get nourished apart from each other. And I think that's really brilliant to do.
I think it's important too that we're vocal about what we need. And if we're on vacation and there's too much activity, I'll take a day off.
Yeah. He just takes a day off.
I'll take a day off of vacation. I'll take vacation from the vacation sometimes, and it's okay.
And he's got permission for that.
Yeah, it's like we talk about what we need, and it works. I think it works great.
Yeah. Yeah, and I've got permission for him for that. He's got permission for himself to advocate for that. So that's another important piece. I would actually put that in number 2, which is if something is, if you need to take a day off from the vacation, take a day off. Like give yourself permission, advocate for yourself and what you want.
Don't be a victim. Don't be a martyr. Don't be a vacation martyr.
Don't be a vacation martyr. I'm going to put that in there. And all right. So then the third idea is, regardless of your travel style, so like we have different travel styles, even if you're one that likes more activity or you want to go out and see more stuff, don't pack activities into every moment of the trip. Leave some space open for magic to arise.
And for the next vacation.
And definitely for the next vacation, but even like on a vacation, leave room for spontaneity or for rest if it's needed. Like the day we arrived to Stockholm on a Thursday, super hot day, and Friday, and we were up all day, slept that night, but sleep was janky. And the next day we were super jet lagged. Friday we were jet lagged. We had plans to do stuff during the day. We had dinner plans, but we also were things we were going to do during the day. And it was rainy and we were tired, and Patrick slept most of the day, and I hung out and napped and was awake and read and did stuff, but we stayed home all day till it was time to go to dinner, and that was fine.
It was glorious.
It was glorious. That was a Patrick day. So yeah, exactly. So Lisa's saying Jacob naps while I dive some days. Exactly. That's beautiful to have that kind of flexibility and fluidity and permission with each other. Is so key. And so the fourth piece we wanted to talk about was, let's say you're not necessarily traveling. Let's say you're taking time, you're rebooting your relationship at home. Staycation. A great way to do that is to set a container, whether that's 30 minutes, 2 hours, a weekend, and leave, again, don't overschedule it in advance. Leave space for what the desire is in the moment. So when you get there to the container, so you set aside this container, like, okay, we're going to take time in this spot. And when you get there, then feel into together what feels most resonant. Maybe you want to take a walk. Maybe you want to have sex. Maybe you want to drink some tea and talk. Maybe you want to watch TV. Maybe you want to put a container on how much TV you watch, because maybe you want to make sure that you actually have some intimate time together that's not just like next to each other on the couch, absorbed in somebody else's creativity, right? Maybe you want to exercise your own creativity. All of that. Yeah. Do you have anything to add to that piece about leaving things open?
No, I think you nailed it. I mean, maybe just, don't let your Netflix and chill become just Netflix.
Yes, well said. Well said. I love this. Lisa says Jacob describes those naps the same as Patrick. Right on, right? There's a deep nourishment that happens over here with the napping. That's not necessarily how my energy system runs. Like if I nap, I often wake up groggy. Like it's not always restorative to me to nap. I have to be really wiped out to nap. Yeah. And so, it's not a language I natively understand, say. However, it's a language I respect.
And you understand that it nourishes me.
Exactly. And I think that that's the key, is giving each other room, because you respect. Sometimes you get a little like, too much activity, but mostly you respect my curiosity and my interest. Like I'm the one that had the desire for this trip. And I was like, Patrick, I want to go to Europe and see the friends. And he was like, yes.
Let's.
So he's generally a yes to my desires. And when he's a no, he's clear about his no.
And I care about what nourishes you. I mean, I want you to be well nourished. It has our union be stronger. And it's the same thing for me.
Yeah, exactly. So then the last thing we wanted to mention was it's useful to keep a list of activities you enjoy, so that when you do get to an open spot of time, a container that you've created to be outside of time in a way, like to step away from the daily and be in union space, it can be helpful to have a list of things so that you're not having to recreate the wheel every single time. Now, Patrick does this with a bunch of stuff. For example, he has a list of restaurants that he keeps.
I keep a tab for each city.
And he keeps a tab for each city.
That's my own personal Yelp.
Yeah, because it's like,
Sometimes, when you're hungry, you can't think clearly. You need to, let me see a menu of the list of possible restaurants.
Like, what are the restaurants we like? And often because neither one of us is like, I don't know what I don't know what
I don't know.
I don't know.
It's
And then
not
he
very-
looks at the list and he starts reading off
Like,
names,
oh,
and that a clear yes will emerge.
Yeah.
But we couldn't have thought of it
It would have been difficult
off the top of our heads,
not
because,
quickly.
right? And then we would have been even hungrier and crankier. And so a list like that can be helpful. Same thing with a pleasure menu. I recommend having like a pleasure menu, and there can be a list of activities. Let's say you get to your time, your time away time, whether it's a staycation or a vacation away. And again, you might be like so tapped out, it's hard to know what would feel good. Well, if you have a pleasure plan or a list of things you enjoy, like a bath, like a cup of tea, like specific sexual activities, cuddling, napping can be on the pleasure plan. Then if you get to your container of time, and again, you might be kind of tapped out because you've been going. Maybe you have kids and you've been handling the kids and getting them situated wherever they're going to be. Any of that stuff, or you're like me and you're handling the 50,000 business details that need to be, handled till you can fully take your time off. Maybe you get to the container and you're like, whoa, again, tapped out, kind of like when you're hungry and trying to figure out where to go to eat. Well, having a pleasure plan, again, gets the ball rolling. Well, what would feel good? Do you want to do this? Oh. All right. Hi, we're back. So, anything about that?
Yeah, just make sure as you're creating your list, don't wait and don't do it when you're stressed. Don't do it when you do it when you're feeling very full. Like if you're, and I say full, I mean if you're in you're both in very good moods, and maybe you have an evening where you're together and you're feeling lovey-dovey. You're like, hey, let's put that list together.
Yeah.
Don't wait until you need it. That's too difficult.
That's
to do.
Key. Don't wait until you need it. Yeah. It's kind of like the restaurant. Don't wait till you need food to start thinking about where you want to eat. Have a list you can consult. Same thing. I mean, because he made that restaurant list in a good space when he wasn't hungry. Yeah. And it's a similar thing with the pleasure plan. Make that, or the pleasure menu. I love that you called it a pleasure menu. Yes. Make that when you don't need it yet, and when you feel full, and when you feel connected, and you feel great together, and you can think of things. I mean, backgammon might be on that list. Like it might be games on that list. Think wide around pleasure. Right. Yeah. A hike. You might even, if you're engineer like my beloved, you might even have different tabs of your pleasure menu,
for sure.
Like physical activities, games, restful activities, intimate, sex activities, right? So you might have tabs for each aspect of your pleasure plan, different kinds of baths that you enjoy. Like Patrick loves, I love when Patrick draws me a bath. And I have various kinds of baths that I like. Like there's various mixtures of Epsom salt and oil or a certain bath bomb or whatever. So if one of you has a bath enjoyment, like if baths are pleasurable to you and you like your bath a certain way, like a certain temperature and with stuff in it, you could put that on the pleasure plan and ask your partner to draw you a bath. And the how is already on the list, for example.
And we've been talking about, I use Google Docs.
Yeah.
It's a spreadsheet. Don't be daunted if you don't know spreadsheets. You can keep it in your journal. You can write it,
like in a notes field,
a Post-it note that you
just
keep, somewhere is easy to find. Use what you use. If you use most people have a smartphone, use your notes app on your smartphone, like something that you have with you that you can get to easily, that you know how to use. Don't recreate the wheel. I mean, don't have to learn a new task to get this done, because it's a
Exactly.
hurdle. If you have a
Yeah.
hurdle, you probably won't do it.
That's right. That's right. Good, really good point. So are there any questions, reflections? We'd love to hear, respond to anything before we recap and wrap. And so let us know, is there anything coming up? And you're welcome to also drop reflections and questions if you're watching the replay as well. I do come back and check in on the comments after the fact. So again, to recap this part, if you would like access to the show notes for this training, drop the word notes in the comments and I'll let you know how to get access to that. And if you would like a wonderful place to get clear about what's working and what needs work in your relationship, what areas, whether you're single or partnered, drop the appropriate word in the comments and I will get you the link to that assessment. It's a 4 or 5 minute assessment that shows you really quickly where to focus and where to put your attention to have your relationships feel full and thriving and be in a great spot to actually want to spend time together, which is not always a given, is it? So if there are no questions or reflections coming in, I'm going to get ready to recap. Last chance. You okay?
Time for a recap.
All right. Today we're talking about relationship reboot, taking time away for couples. Because we all know our relationships matter, but we can get so caught up in the day-to-day that we forget to take time to nourish the union, to nourish our connection. Whether that's a vacation or a staycation, it's important to take time with each other that is not logistical, but that's purely for enjoying each other's company and enjoying the relationship. And we are covering 5 aspects of that. And the first is being mindful about how you choose what you do. Would you say a word about that mindfulness? We talked about different travel styles.
Yeah, just make sure that each person is getting nourished for what they need. And if you feel like you aren't, speak up to make sure your partner knows what you need and that you are putting your needs in the center and that the whole thing is being nourished.
Yeah. And that there's room for both of you, especially if you have differing styles and differing needs.
And if you have the same, just do what you like and do and everybody's happy.
Then everybody's happy. Number 2 is don't be a vacation martyr. Like speak up. For example, if your vacation is very active because one partner loves to see and do all the things, then, and you're a partner that needs a day of rest, speak up about that. Take a day off from the vacation, stay back, go to bed, take a nap, take care of yourself. Don't be a martyr to the other person's vacation style. Number 3, regardless of your style, whether you're someone who likes more spaciousness or more packed schedule, make sure that you don't pack activities into every moment of the trip. Leave some space for spontaneity, for bumping into someone in the street who turns you on to some restaurant on the other side of town that you wouldn't have known about, and now you have time to go there because you didn't already have another plan. Right?
Yeah, or you see a flyer that has some like great event that's one night only,
Exactly. So like leave space. Number 4, if you're taking a trip at home, otherwise known as the staycation, set a container for it. In other words, whether it's 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, a weekend, a day, make it clear, like, okay, in this time, it's about nourishing our connection, and then leave space in that time for what's co-arising and what do I mean by co-arising?
By co-arising, it's just like, so if each person is having a desire, they may start to resonate with each other and they have this effect of becoming greater than the sum of like the individual desires.
Exactly. And so by having room for, like, by not planning it too much in advance and having space within it, you can feel into what feels most resonant for that container. Maybe you create a scaffolding. Like if it's a weekend, you create a scaffolding like, oh, Saturday night we're going to eat over here, and Sunday we'll have brunch over here, but the rest you leave open and you see what you feel like doing. And the last thing is keep a list of activities that you enjoy that you can choose from. And this can be a restaurant list, because the worst thing is to wait till you're already hungry to try to decide where you're going to eat, because in that moment, you're going to default not necessarily to what you truly desire. You're going to default to what's easy and what's closest. Yeah. Whereas if you have a list that you made when you weren't hungry of places you like,
or that you really want to try,
that you haven't tried yet, then you can go down that list and see what sparks joy, as they say. The other great list to make when you are not needing it yet and when you're feeling good with each other is a pleasure plan or a pleasure menu. And that, in true spreadsheet fashion from the engineer, could have different tabs if you like it too. You could have a physical activity, like an exercise tab, like, oh, hiking or biking or kayaking or whatever it is you do in your part of the world. You could have a downtime, like a rest activities tab. It could have a spa type activities tab, whatever suits your partnership. It could have a sex activities tab. What sexual activities do you feel like doing? Sometimes in the moment, when you get to the time to have sex, you might not in the moment, be super clear what would feel great. And sometimes having a list, you can look at that and go, ooh, that sparks, ooh, that spark, ooh. And that gets you started. It gets you on the road. Hi, I can't see who you are, but I'm psyched to see you too. Do you mind telling me who you are? It just says Facebook user. So I'm psyched to see you, Facebook user. Thanks for the comment. Is there anything else you want to say?
Oh, just also a reminder, if you don't do spreadsheets, don't worry. Paper works. I mean, in a pinch, you could write on the mirror with lipstick. Write your list, get your list down any way you can get it.
Yeah.
And don't worry about the tech.
Exactly. Whatever is easy. Oh, hi, Mary Carol. Good to see you. Yay. Thanks for dropping your name. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm Marie Elizabeth.
I'm Patrick Price.
And I help people have more loving and connected relationships that help them show up powerfully in the world. And he also, how do you describe it?
I do the same thing.
He does.
And support my woman.
That he does too. Hope you've enjoyed it, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Remember that a great relationship starts with you.